The increase was smaller than forecast, and that could be explained by food prices putting less pressure on the inflation rate than expected. This is expected to change in the months ahead. The rand has weakened drastically recently, raising the prices of key commodities such as maize and fuel. This will add to food inflation, putting pressure on low-income groups.
The very low and low expenditure groups spend more than 30% of their total basket on food. Therefore, their inflation rates are much lower than the high-income groups at the moment. But that is going to turn around. When food inflation starts rising, with a high weighting in the consumer basket for food, for the very low and low expenditure groups, their overall inflation rate is going to be rising towards the end of this year. So there are different inflation rates for different groups, for different individuals. But the average number is a solid number. It's a very good number.
This leaves the Reserve Bank with a challenge. They have to keep inflation in check without stifling economic growth.
Food prices are going to rise this year. So inflation will actually increase from the very low 5.4% we had in December last year. So the Reserve Bank won't necessarily hike interest rates because they know the real economy is very subdued. The consumers are under pressure, but there might come a time when inflation expectations start to rise. That's when you and me as consumers expect inflation to go higher. We build it into our wage increases, and that drives inflation down the road. So when that point comes, the Reserve Bank will have to make a very tough decision. Do they hike interest rates or not? For now, we do not expect any interest rate increases this year, although the Reserve Bank will be very watchful of what's happening out there.
The Reserve Bank's Monetary Policy Committee meets next week to decide on interest rates. Most economists believe they'll leave rates unchanged until the end of this year. Sfiso Skosana, SABC News, Johannesburg.